Good evening, everybody. I'm starting early, a little bit early. How's everybody doing? It's Tuesday, I think. The Tuesday before Christmas, maybe? Or is it not that late in the month? Who knows? Who knows? How's everybody doing on the competition, by the way? I haven't looked. Is it great? I hope so. Wild card this month. It is December the 12th, so it's like 2 weeks before Christmas. That's about right. And yeah, I almost didn't make it again tonight. Just had so much going on. Lot of things to take care of. And a couple of announcements before we get into the depressing subject of why we keep making the same mistakes over and over again when we are building rigs and doing anything like this really in macro. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the experience of putting together this rig in the back. And now I was going to take you back there, but the microphone thing has got the better of me again. And I'm afraid that we won't have any sound, and that's just not cricket. I tried to find out if you can run an OBS thing with two computers, but apparently not. They conflict with one another, so I thought we'd just not risk it for right now. We'll do a live stream back there one day. I've been shooting a lot with the new platforms and with the new positioner, and it's all very exciting and going very well, even though I screwed up a lot of parts of the build, and I'll talk to you about them and I'll show you pictures and explain what I did wrong and why I should learn my lesson one of these days. A couple of quick things I want to chat about briefly. Let me see. The first, what is it? Oh, yes, the macro video month is on January. It's a thing. Mr. Lee's going to be coming on and talking with me, so you'll hear about his vision and his dream of layover lenses. And then we'll get into making video with macro lenses and how difficult that is to do unless maybe you have the right equipment. So hopefully we'll have the right equipment and we can learn something. So it's going to be a fun month. I'll be honest with you, I've done plenty of macro video, but not recently and not with good equipment, and it's really difficult. It's really difficult to do anything any good. The last thing I did was something on dragonflies, and yeah, it's hard to do. It's hard to do well. I'm hoping that this equipment will really give us a bit further reach and a more stable platform, and yeah, I'm working on getting a better tripod too, so it'll be fun. It'll be cold too, so we won't have to stay outside for too long. That's a good thing. Okay, all right, so we'll be talking about gear and the challenges and techniques and all that. So we'll cover it the whole month. Let me see. There is a possibility, a small chance, that I might have to do the unforgivable and not do a live stream on Christmas. Because I think where I'll be for Christmas doesn't have internet, or doesn't have good internet, and I won't have any microphones or anything. But yeah, I've done it before from foreign places, so maybe I'll be okay. It's not that far away; it just doesn't have internet. So I'll see what I can do. If I don't do a live stream at Christmas, I'll make up for it with something before I go and something after I get back, and we've got so much stuff to do. That won't be a problem. Okay, don't forget in January, on the 20th, which is the right after the second presume of the month. Did you follow that? We have 2 presumes a month. That's Patreon Zooms for the Patreon folks. And then right after that, at 12:30, for anybody who wants to come, we've got the Tangent and Chamfer Hour. That is a 3D modeling, 3D printing. Larry and I are doing a live stream type thing, yep, where you can come on, and it'll be a Zoom call too. So you can come on and talk to us, and we'll compare notes and tell stories, and yeah, we'll just learn about 3D, and it's going to be fun. Can anybody hear me? I'm getting blank stares coming back from the audience. Doesn't sound like it. Sound is on and good. Okay, thanks, Amy. Oh, we've got the whole crowd here tonight. Bud's here, Amy's here, Alistair's here. That's great. So you better be on your best behaviour, audience. They'll chuck you out in a heartbeat. I know they will. They're just itching to do that. All right, so that's in January. Don't forget it, January the 20th. I am so looking forward to this because I really like Larry. He's a great guy and a bit of a genius when it comes to this whole 3D modeling stuff. So I'm really looking forward to learning a lot and meeting a lot of other people who are into this. It'll be fun. And if you're new to it, particularly, and it doesn't matter what platform you're using, I was actually looking at the platform that my friend Chris uses, and I can't remember what he calls it. Oh dear, I've forgotten the name of it, but it looked great. It looked like a lot of fun to do. So it doesn't matter what platform you're using. Just come, we'll talk about it and we'll figure stuff out together. Yeah, I'm Fusion 360 all the way. I've now figured that thing out. I'm an expert. I'm not even close to an expert, but I can make a few things. Did I bring my wheel? No, I didn't. I made a wheel. I'll show it to you next time. Okay. All right. By the way, Thursday, Macro Talk 2, we're going to touch on something that I have deliberately avoided touching on for 4 or 5 years now, and that is printing. I'm scared of printing. I have two of the things, the printers, the same ones. One of them's a real, one of them's from a thrift shop. I just like the look of having two of them, and the light came on, so I don't think it works though. I'm gonna make the argument for why making your own prints of your own photographs is a cool thing to do, and you should try it. And that way, if you've got a printer, you'll feel good about yourself. If you don't, you'll probably go out and buy one. And you won't feel bad about it till after Christmas, when you realize how difficult it is to print stuff and make it look good. I'm not good at it, but I still do it. I still do it quite a lot, especially around Christmas time. So that's what we're going to talk about on Thursday. The next video up is the Laowa 25mm f2.8 2.5 to 5 times macro lens thing. I have been shooting with this lens like crazy the last 2 days, 3 days, and boy, do I have some nice pictures with that lens on the Z8. It really is sharp. People were telling me this for years, and I'm not sure I believed them. I wonder, I didn't think to actually put any of the pictures up, but I ought to show you one or two of them, because I was really quite surprised. Yeah, let me see if I can find a way to get this up without disturbing everything else that's going on. It's I haven't stacked it yet, so I can only show you individual frames. But I was back shooting hamuli again, those wing things. Let me see if I can find. Oh dear, sorry, my camera is in the way of the Lightroom thing. Here it is. So I was just getting ready to stack this actually when my brain reminded me that I did have a live stream to do. But this is awesome. Take a look at this. Somehow, there it is. I hope yes, the microphone just changed, so you may hear different voice in your head. This is it. This is how sharp this thing is. This is only the very central part of a whole wing, and this was shot with the 25mm lens, and they are really, really sharp. That is 200% right there. Ooh, I cannot wait to stack these and take a look at them. These are going to be something else. That's just one slice, by the way. That is not the whole thing. So anyway, thought you might like to see that. It's looking promising. I am going to be doing a real head-to-head with the Mitutoyo 5X to put to bed some of the nonsense that has been circulating about those two lenses. They're very different lenses. They do different things, but we're going to look at how they perform against one another. That will be in a little while, after the holidays probably. Too much craziness going on to concentrate on that right now. So anyway, that's just one picture. I've taken lots of them. Did I tell you? I did tell you. I bought a whole ring of computer chips on a disc. You know what the word for that is? A die. something like that. Yeah, the whole thing. And it's fantastic for testing lenses. It was really great with this lens. I'll show you some of those pictures later. All right, show of hands. Who wants me to try to get a guy from the Ant Lab to come on the program and chat? You know who I'm talking about? Young chap, works in a lab, takes photographs of things at high speed with a high-speed camera, and he gets some of the most amazing footage. If you haven't seen his latest video, I'll link it in the show description for the recording of this. But he is filming, talk about macro video, he is filming tiny beetles going around, have harpoons in their mouths, and are skewering little tiny springtails, columbolas, in the head and dragging them into their mouth to eat. You've never seen anything quite like it. I mean, I thought I should get some kind of an award for just getting a photograph of a columbola intact. And he's got them being harpooned through the head. Watch that video. You got to see it. I'm going to get in touch with him tonight and ask him if he will come on the program for a chat, because we need to find out how he does that. All right, let me see. Any comments, questions? No, nothing. All's quiet on the Western Front for now. That's good. Yeah, you know that if you have a question for me, you have to give it to one of the bouncers, and they'll let me know that you've done so. All right, good. One last thing, and this is something. This is one of those embarrassing things where I haven't checked this with Bud. But I'm getting ready to say something that will directly affect Bud, and I haven't checked with him. So, you know, I may be blowing it right here. But listen, Bud and I are ordering some bugs from Europe. And I'm going to go to my dealer guy in Eastern Europe, where I got the wonderful selection of weevils and all kinds of great stuff last year. We're going to go in together so we can get more, and then we'll split them up. And it just occurred to me, if there's anybody else who's in the United States, because otherwise it will be too cumbersome, if you're in the United States and you want to come in on this, and if Bud doesn't mind, if Bud minds, it's all off. It's just if he doesn't mind. Well, Bud will get some of his money back because he put in more than he needs to. So what we could do then is just order more bugs, split them up, and I'll send them out if you trust me, not to eat any of them or give you a bum deal. I won't. I'll give you all the good ones. So, yeah, if you're interested, let one of the bouncers know, but let Bud know. And then he'll decide whether or not to share it with me. And then all you've got to do is send me some money and I'll order them tonight. I mean, literally, I'm going to do it after this. So if Bud doesn't mind, that might be a great way to get a broader selection so we can all get to see some more unusual stuff. Okay, all right. I have been told not to do things spontaneously like this because they almost always result in me having to mail stuff all over the world. And it's right. That's good advice. We're talking about 10 common mistakes that we all make. I'm guessing we all make. I know I make. I make them every time I build a rig. Because I go through the same machinations and I am equally unprepared each time. This was kind of an unusual scenario because it was like all of a sudden I didn't have a rig. I had been doing so many different projects in different parts of the studio and had been doing some testing that wasn't scheduled and some other things that all of a sudden I realized that all of my cameras were busy doing other stuff and I didn't have a rig up and running. In fact, I didn't have anything even close. I didn't even have a dining room table that I could clean off and use. So I thought, oh dear, it's time to put together something more permanent. So that's why I came up with the idea of killing two birds with one stone and making a duplex rig that would have a high magnification setup and a primarily lower magnification setup. Not to be used together, understand, to be used when the subject was appropriate, and the other platform would be on standby and I could be setting it up and working on it when the other one's in use. That is a mistake. It's actually the 11th mistake, and we'll come back around to it at the end. But that's not a good idea. If you're thinking about doing such, and if you work at this, I mean, if the volume of photographs that you take is important to you for any reason, this is not a good idea. It would be much better to have one rig operating at all times, and then work on the other, and then add a second. Doing them both at the same time, which seemed like an opportunity, just turned into a bit of a mess. Not because I couldn't do it all, not because it was particularly difficult. It just created a lot more stuff I had to do, busy work. And I got confused about what I had and hadn't done on the various projects, and was repeating jobs that didn't need to be repeated, like cutting certain pieces of wood or what have you. It was a mess, and it just because I was always in a rush. So afterwards, when I was looking at, did I just hit my microphone with my thumb? I think I did. I'm sorry about that. So afterwards, when I was looking at the finished product and thinking how nice it looked and how comfortable it was to work at, I started thinking about how much nicer it would have been if I'd done it properly and hadn't made the mistakes. So I started penciling in the things that had gone wrong, and probably the first thing, and the biggest, well, no, I'll probably say that for all of them, but one of the key mistakes that I made was I procrastinated about redoing my rig. There is a strange noise coming from my air conditioner. Oh, it's because the heater's on. That's what it is. Don't worry about it. Sounds like a jet engine taking off. Anyway, the idea was I was going to do this a while ago when there was some slack in the schedule, and I was going to get this all done. But certain things happened, and next thing you know, I'm putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And whenever I do that, it sets me up for a real beast of a catch-up period when I do finally start doing it. Like one day I'll start answering emails again, and it will be the death of me, I'm sure. But yeah, the point was, months went by where I wasn't making any progress, and I was working with really pretty shoddy rigs. And then with the new camera and the new lens and all the projects that I had lined up, it became time to do it. And this leads to the second mistake, which is getting in a hurry. If you procrastinate long enough, it goes without saying that when you do eventually get started, you're going to rush it. And that is so inevitable with me that they'll have it on my gravestone. And that's exactly what happened with this. I was finding reasons not to do it, and then started doing it on Thursday, Tuesday, Monday last week, and all of a sudden everything was an emergency to get it done. Because my schedule is so cram-packed that there isn't time to do anything. And getting in a hurry, that exacerbates everything else. Everything bad that's going to happen is going to happen quicker and more badly when you get in a hurry. And that's when I started making the silly mistakes. What should I have done? Well, first of all, when I had the downtime, I could have started doing some of the easy stuff. That's usually the best way for me. Is I know I'm going to be doing the project. I know for one thing, I need a lot of black wood. Now that's not hard. I never buy anything to make these. Well, I did this time. I bought a couple of things, but I almost never buy anything. I use found wood, scrap, and I finish it and I get it looking great. I throw out the stuff that's no good, and then I have a collection of really nice stuff that I can use. And that's what I could have done this time. I could have been painting all along. Instead, I have to go to Walmart and get 4 cans of spray paint to spray all the wood I've got. And I had nostril drainage that was black with bits of paint for it. You don't want to hear that? Okay, all right, sorry. Anyway, the point was, I could have been doing that all along, but I was busy procrastinating. As far as not getting in a hurry, the way to do that is to not procrastinate in the first place. Then you can be leisurely about it. Number 3 is a tricky one. It is sometimes it's prudent for us to just make do with what we have. In other words, if we're dreaming about having a macro rig that's on a mobile cart, like that's something I've been wanting to do for years, but we don't have a mobile cart, and they're $400, and you're not going to get one anytime soon. To not keep up your rig, to not spruce it up a couple of times a year and make sure everything's in working order, and maybe put a fresh lick of paint on it, just because you're waiting to afford a cart, that's the kind of thing that is hazardous for me. But the opposite of that, making do when you could wait for something that can happen or is going to happen, this I do all the time. I'll have almost everything I need, but 1 or 2 things. And if I just had those 2 things, I could finish the job. So what I'll do is I'll grab something that is kind of similar to what I need, and I will regret it from the minute I do it. I'll finish the project that night usually, or that day, but it won't be what I wanted, because I cut the corner and I settled for something that I knew I wouldn't like, because that's what I did last time too. And in this case, it was these magic nubbins that they arrived now, of course, so I'm having to replace them all. But these things that I use for mounting the lights on the platform, they really have to be quite a specific size, and the ones I was using were not the right size, and my light poles are all wonky. So yeah, don't make do if there's something tangible and concrete you can do to make a better rig, but don't make that an excuse not to do it. So yeah, it's a fine line. It's not like just don't do it. I mean, you've got to do some of this stuff. Just try to do it smart. Being patient, waiting 1 extra day would probably not have been a good idea, but I didn't have to wait. There's other stuff I could have done. There was other finishing up stuff that could have been done. I'm going to show you a picture of the rig, because it might be easier if you're actually looking at it. I've actually taken quite a few pictures of it. Let me put the screen up here and make it big so you can see everything. All right, that's not... No, that's me I just put up there. Hang on a sec, guys. I thought I was putting my preview up there. I don't know where preview is. I hate when this happens. Oh, there it is. It was sitting on my desk just a minute ago. So I went in there with the phone this evening, and I just took a series of pictures so that you could see the finished product. These are just iPhone pictures. And yeah, pretty nice. Let me give you the screen here. Oh dearie me, I have the hardest time getting my screen to spread out the way it's supposed to. All right, there it is. You see it? I hope so. So this is the new deal, and let me see. You do have good sound. Okay, all right. So this is the deal, and there are 2 rigs there, and they're both built on heavy pieces of stout, rubbishy furniture that I got at thrift shops. A couple of big empty boxes. That's 1/2-inch MDF that this is made of. Very heavy duty stuff. And I've layered on different bits of scrap wood that I had to get an even level kind of platform. It's not really level. This one's higher because I have the positioner back there that's recessed down into the table. But all in all, this is a really competent low power magnification system that has a lot of interesting backdrop material all hanging on a big rod. This is the high power end, which is slightly sturdier with the computer for tethering. And yeah, it's all really nice. I'm using the NovaFlex rail on the lower power rig. These are I was telling you about the light poles being wonky. This is the way I like to mount them, with one of those nubbins that I screw into a little block of wood that then gets screwed into the base. The reason is I can move these now, and then the pole will hold as many lights as it needs to, and I have multiple poles sticking up on both rigs. If I had not rushed this, I wouldn't have needed these strips as well, but I did. Now I've got to live with them. But anyway, you're familiar with how I do the rig. I now am back up to 8 MF12s, so I needed plenty of room to spread out in here, because remember, I like to get light everywhere on that semicircle, or that half orb in front of the subject. By the way, who was it of you who told me the secret to making the tunnel that I had been laboring over with the 3D modeling? Somebody looked at the model and said, you know, you could do much better if you just did this at one end. Whoever it was that said that was a genius, because that's what I've done, and I need to show that to you next time. But it's quick and easy to do in Fusion, and it works, and it's a fantastic diffusion device. So whoever told me that, I thought it was art, and I asked him, and he said, nope, it wasn't him. But it's a really cool gadget, and I'll show it to you next time. All right, so that was just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we've got set up. The stack shot on a carry platform. This is one of Graham Carey's designs. The stack shot moves the platform here, which is on linear bearings, and it decouples the movement of the rail from the movement of this outrigger, so that you get a smoother transition, you get smoother movement, less vibration, and yeah, none of the sideways movement that you sometimes see with the stack shot when your camera's sitting on it. Behind the screen in there, over there, is the positioner. I've got some other pictures of that I'll show you. So this is a completely different rig. My preference for high magnification, and I mounted the controller for the new positioner down here by my left hand, so that I can set it up right from the same spot. By the way, mistake number, let me see. Well, I don't know what number it is, but it's one of them. It's one of the mistakes, is not thinking about your ergonomics and your comfort when you're designing and building one of these rigs. If you make this thing 6 inches too short, I guarantee you're going to have back agonies for every day that you spend working on this thing. You need to build it at a comfortable height. I built mine up to be a comfortable height. And if you're going to be working at it for hours and hours, put a chair there or a stool. That's what I did. It's also right next to my 3D printer. That can be another mistake if you like, because I should have put them in different rooms. But I'm running out of rooms, so I didn't. This thing, by the way, is not a mistake. I made that. I made that out of a chopping board, a piece of, I don't know, wood from something or other, 2 pieces of wood, and I made a nice little laptop thingamajig for it. And it's even got a hole in it that the wires go through. I invented that myself. I thought it was fairly genius. Anyway, yeah, let's move on to look at another picture if I can find them. They're down here somewhere. Here we are. Yeah, this is to remind me that, oh, it needs to be on the right screen. Hang on a sec, guys. Sorry about that. This is to remind me that storage, immediate on-hand storage, is not something that you can ignore. This is the only storage I have under here, and this was a mistake. Having this an enclosed box and this having no anywhere to put anything, I'm already running out of space. So yeah, think about that. I'll probably build a shelving unit to put under here, but you do need to be able to reach for wires and you know, cables and lights and flashes and chargers and all that. I don't like putting stuff up on the surface of my rig. That's when things get knocked over and knocked off. Another mistake I made is taking this picture out of focus, but I was in a bit of a hurry. Let me explain what this is to remind me of. I use these found metal rods. This time I actually bought some aluminum rods, but I normally just use found ones. And what I do is I drill a hole through them, and then I hammer another piece of metal through it. It's just a straight spike of metal, and then I bend it into this shape. And this is good because you can grab onto things better with this, and it allows you to, it just gets more creative for your positioning of bendy arms and flashes, and you can put more than one on this thing. But I didn't have the right size rods, so these are just welding rods that I use. I didn't have the right size, so I went ahead and used a bunch of other rods, none of which I like, none of which I'm going to keep. So I had to go and do all this again today. But yeah, you'll see these all over the place now. This is a relatively new addition, but it doesn't, anything with a member coming out from the main shaft will give you a place to clip a speed light on, or a diffusion panel, or whatever it is you need, a flag or a reflector. That's the top of the positioner, by the way. This set of concentric rings is so that the positioner can move all throughout that cube without bumping into anything. They slide under there so that you can't drop your handbag down in there or anything. It's very nice indeed. Okay, let me move on to the next picture that's probably got something more interesting. Oh dear, we're back to, oh, I did stack it. Do you mind if I set the contrast threshold while we're here? Let's do that. I take it all the way up until it starts to touch on my stuff, but because these hamuli are so teeny tiny, I'm going to take it back a little bit from there too. Okay, I'm getting a call. You know, all right, good. Sorry, all right. Sorry about that, guys. When the phone rings, it's usually one of you, and it usually means there's something going on. Maybe we have gone off the air, possibly, or you weren't seeing the pictures. I don't know. Let me just quickly reassess and see if we're back up. Can't see the picture. Okay, all right, got it. Then there is a problem then with the OBS, and we will just do without the pictures. Sorry about that, but you can see me and hear me. Okay, all right, good. Sorry about that. Whoever it was calling, thank you very much. That alerts me to the problem. Yeah, I think the problem was I had Zerine popped up with that stack to finish, and there's a rule when you're doing OBS is don't ever do anything on Zerine at the same time, because I think they have an argument about something. They don't get on well together. Let's get back to our mistakes. Making do was one. Scrimping on materials is another, and it will cost you in the long run. It really will. It is. It's something I do routinely. I mean, I always scrimp on materials because I think I know better. That's why I end up having to redo my rigs every 6 months, because I use them heavily, but I use found materials. That doesn't mean they're always bad, but if you can afford to get, for example, countertop material to make your base with, do that. If you can afford to use the hard maple, for example, for your superstructure that you're going to mount the camera on, that you're going to mount lights on, then buy the maple, because you buy pine, it's going to shred on you, and it will in no time fall apart. So think about how much of a budget that you have, and remember, These things do get expensive, even if you're not building a PVC cage, a cage like we did all those years ago. This can still add up, just the bits and pieces that you need. It takes a fair amount of hardware. You've got to start with a piece of furniture and all that. But part of the fun and the challenge for me is doing it for as little as possible. Most people don't have that approach. They would, they'd rather spend a little money and get something better. If you're going to do that, then get the better cart or get the better workbench. As good as you can afford in space and in equipment, and you'll be glad you did. It'll last forever. I don't want mine to last forever. If it lasts forever, I'll run out of things to talk about. So I'll have to make one I don't need. They have this old saying that you're supposed to measure twice and cut once. That is inaccurate. I need to measure about 11 times and cut once. I cut halfway once and then measure another 11 times. I seem to be incapable of remembering that, and I will make a quick measurement, make a mark on the wood, grab the saw and cut it in the wrong place. It goes back to number 2 of just being in a hurry, but that is a very simple thing to fix, and it's not just fanciful idea. I mean, when somebody came up with that saying, they should have given him a prize, because it's absolutely spot on. If you make a conscious effort to check that your measurement was accurate and correct, and do that every single time, you will find mistakes before you ruin a nice piece of wood. It's certainly, if you're building one of these things from a base of, say, a work table or a big router table or something like that, then follow the plans that come with the base that you're building. Don't modify stuff unless you know what you're doing. You'll end up messing it up. We won't get into modifying other builds like other pieces of furniture. I just use the sturdiest furniture I can find, and I've shared this previously. It's almost always bedside tables from the 1960s, if you can find them. They're cubic, and they're too heavy to pick up, and they're solid wood. And sometimes the drawers have interesting things in them. From the 1960s. I found a remote once, a remote control for a television, but it had a wire on it. So it wasn't really a remote, was it? You had to plug it in. Anyway, there you go. That was a bonus, finding that. Designing your rig in such a way that it completely blocks you out of something you're interested in doing. This can happen if you get so focused on the rail that you're building it for, or the piece of equipment that you have that you're building it around, that you can get all the way to the end of your project before you realize, whoa, there's no way to mount a bellows on this. I won't be able to photograph those coins, or my lights won't go there. You've already put all the poles in, and you can't get the lights to where they need to be. So it's a great idea to at the beginning of your build, before you buy anything or cut anything, write down on a piece of paper, what is it that you're building this rig for? What are you going to use it for? Are you going to use it for the macro you're doing now? Are you going to do any of the stuff you've done before? And what are you planning on getting into? Are you going to plan on doing aquatic subjects, living aquatic subjects? If so, you need to be building and thinking about a vertical rig, a vertical rig that can handle live subjects. If you're only planning on doing low magnification, you don't need 400 millimeter indexing rails that you can mount everything on. And just think about that. You may not know, but it's always good to go through the process of thinking about it and looking at other people's projects. and see why they built it the way they did. Why did I build that? I didn't build it. Graham built it. That platform that moves with the rail. Why am I using that? Well, because it greatly increases the quality of my photographs in certain circumstances, and that's something that I wanted to incorporate. So I mindfully put it in. Otherwise, everything would have been at the wrong height if I decided to add that later. So I built the whole rig around it. But don't build yourself out of something you're interested in doing. I already talked about failing to take your comfort into account, but that doesn't just include you having a place to sit down and having the table the right height. Everything needs to make sense. If you are diminutive of stature, say, building everything in such a way that you have to reach all the way to across the rig to the back of the table to turn something on is a bad idea. But the comfort also includes having good work lights. I don't right now. The work lights that I have been using are just old Jan's Joes that used to be my actual macro lights. Now they're my work lights. But what I need to do is hang a fluorescent thing over the whole thing to light it up for when I'm working on it, and that is a good idea to do. I'm going to show you the rig from another direction. This is from the other side of the room, but it shows you the other part of the rig. Let me see if I can jump over there without messing it up too badly. So there you get a bit of a feel for where it is. I'm sorry about the mess on the floor. I didn't see that. I have since vacuumed it up though. So the 3D printer is actually quite a long way away from all of this action, and I have actually done some prints while I was working in here, and it didn't seem to bother it. Let me see. The new positioner is over here. We're actually going to marry these together. The controller and the screen are probably going to end up in one box. That'll be more convenient. You can see that my telephone poles are all wonky here because I was in too big of a hurry to use the wrong size. I think they're called nipples, which is an unfortunate name for a piece of brass hardware, but there you go. And you can just see the top of the positioner here. I've taken the platform off it because I was experimenting with some other things I'm using, but I was going to put a fascia around this, and I kind of designed it so that I could cover all this up, and then I realized, well, I'd be covering up my storage, and that would be my 12th mistake. So decided against doing that. And so that's the way it looks from the other side. I've never been a big fan of tethering. I know that's sacrilegious to say, even think that, but I've never been crazy about it. I like to look at my photographs after I've taken them, but we're sitting down at the computer where I can look at them and make decisions about what to include, what not to include. I make mistakes and take out photographs that should have been in the stack, all the time if I'm in a hurry, and there's no need for that. So I tend not to do it, but I did this because I am pretty sure that when I figure out how to use the integration with Zerine and StackShot, I'm going to want to use that because it does add some functionality. I understand, and it's just something I've only ever learned it to teach it to other people. I've never actually learned it to use it. So I will be doing that, and that's why that computer's in there. Okay, next mistake. Going through the process of building because you wanted to build a rig, but you don't really know what you want it for. It's a good idea to pause at that point. If you're not really sure why you're building a rig, then that means that you don't know what you're going to use it for. And if you don't know what you're going to use it for, you're going to make all kinds of wrong decisions in putting it together. And that ties in with the next mistake is not having a plan for the whole build. It is complicated enough of a task, especially if this is your first one and you're going from working on the kitchen table to working in a dedicated space. You need to think about everything: floor coverings, the colors of the paint in the room. Is it dark enough? Windows, curtains. You have to consider all of this. Light switches. Where do people walk outside the room? You need to have a plan to go through each of these areas of concern and check it out and make notes and come to some good decisions about what equipment you need to use, what stuff you need to buy to build the rig. And a thing like our cage project, or it's called My Rig now, the new one, is the perfect resource to go and look at what other people have done with similar spaces. You've seen now what one guy does with a large room that I can use. Is I built this monstrosity, and it'll have a vertical rig on it in a few months. That's one way of doing it. It's probably not going to suit very many people, but there are elements of that probably will give you ideas of stuff that you can do. That thing weighs a lot. It's hard to move. I would point that out too. It's a good idea to build it where it needs to be instead of building it and then plan on moving it downstairs. I'd build it where it's where it's going to be. I couldn't move that more than about 3 feet. I'd have to take it apart. Each of those layers of wood on top is a 1-inch thick sheet of MDF. That stuff is dense. Because our positioner is quite tall, and I like to shoot the lowest possible center of gravity, what I did was I put the rig itself up on a wooden block that's 3 inches thick. It's a piece of I don't know what kind of wood it is. It's made for making chopping blocks or something. It's gigantic. It's really thick. And I cut a piece out of the end. That took half the day on Saturday. And then I could sit the positioner down one level lower so that I could keep my rail very, very low. Low center of gravity rail decreases the risk of vibrations. And this is a fairly vibration prone setup. By the way, talking about vibration, I didn't even mention this. When I was putting this together, I felt the slightest give in one of these legs, and it turns out that one of them was a little bit weak and it could vibrate under certain circumstances. So I just braced it with a big block of wood which is screwed into the legs. This thing is absolutely immobile now. No vibration at all that I can register on my phone unless I'm hitting the table. So that's good. All right. The last mistake is having a plan and then not following it. And this is very typical of me. I'll make a plan. I'll write it all down. I'll have lists of stuff that I'm going to do, and then I will just completely ignore it and do what needs to be done when I think it needs to be done, and I end up just creating busy work for myself. And but that goes for anything. You could sum all this up really by saying, think about what it is you want to do with this rig, and build it purposefully and mindfully to do that with the best materials that you can afford and want to use, and getting help from wherever you can get it from people who know how to do this stuff. I would be a good example of not one of those people. You wouldn't want to ask me for advice on how to do almost anything that involves hammers and screws and things like that. Though this is a very capable system now. I'm very happy with it. It really worked out quite well. And I'm already planning my next one. not surprisingly, I'm sure. I'm going to jump up to the comments and see if there's still anybody here after that fiasco with the not showing of the picture. You know that when that phone goes off, it causes me to have a panic attack because I know that something horrible is happening, but I don't know what it is yet. So, yeah, isn't that shocking? Let me find my Telegram. There it is. Okay, Jack Kramer, comparing the Leica 25 2.5 to 5x with reversed lenses on a bellows might be useful. Hope you can include in your review. Yeah, absolutely, Jack. What I have been saying while I'm talking, I'm going to see if I've got any other pictures I can show you, by the way, that I took with that. These will all be in the video. But yes, the role that I see for this lens is as a manual rail outdoor focus stacking lens, for one thing. Brilliant way to use it. But for me, much more useful is going to be a gap lens that allows me to get from 3.5 to 5 times, because I don't have a lens for that. It's the only gap that I have in my system. I don't like to use EL Nikkors at wide open, and I don't like to use them at above 3.5 times magnification, because I'm so far into diffraction by then that the pictures are soft. So I'm great up to 3.5, and then at 5, of course, my Mitutoyos pick up. But from 3.5 to 5, there's just nothing. This thing looks like it does the number. So yeah, that is a good idea, and I will do that, because comparing it, this should be a diffraction limited system, and it should be affected by considerable diffraction at 4 and 5 times magnification. If not that, it should reveal some aberrations in the lens, because you're going to have it wide open all the time. But it doesn't really, or the softening is so subtle and peripheral that it doesn't seem to affect the picture. I ought to show you one, shouldn't I? Boy, I'm blown away by those Hamuli. Let me see what else I had ready to go. I shot a bunch. Oh yeah, there is one that you probably haven't seen. Now, it's not a great picture, but it was fun to shoot. It was just a spur of the moment thing. I just grabbed this little piece of a motor that was lying around in my workshop, and yeah, I like the oh jeez, I cannot make my thing do the enlarge. There we go. Anyway, it was just a couple of the poles of the motor, wraps of copper wire, and they were reflecting the light nicely. I don't even think that's the finished photograph. No, it's not. That's just one of the, I think the stack must be, the final one must be at the other end. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Or maybe I lost it. Anyway, it's in his, there it is. So that was it. Yeah, it's interesting. It's nice. But it's a great lens, very versatile, and a lot of fun to use. A lot of fun to use. Not a lot of fun to use outdoors unless you've got a tripod, though. Seriously, I know people use it handheld, but they're braver than I am. That would drive me nuts trying to deal with that. If I look like I'm looking above you, it's because I'm looking for another Hamulus picture to show you, because I know that there were some other ones. Anyway, let me see. Other messages. Good to have lots of people order bugs. Did somebody say that they... Yes to the Ant Lab. Yes. Brilliant. No sound. Sound is on and good. Okay. We're confused. Sorry, my sound is off. I did that with my son the other day. We got on a Zoom call, and he was talking away, and I couldn't hear a word he was saying, and I kept telling him couldn't do anything. So he hung up and called again, changed this, changed that, And then I realized my thing was on mute. I had to apologize. I felt like such a fool, but there you go. That's what having sons are for. Yes, so, yep. How many people are added? All right, here's the deal. I need to get the names and addresses of anybody who wants to be on the bug thing, because we can't delay on ordering this because Bud's in a hurry to get the bugs. So yeah, you need to get in touch with me. Message me through the Walls app. Tell me that you want to be in on the bug thing. It'll come to me now because the messages come to me. And I'll tell you, we'll come up with an amount, probably $25 or something like that. And then, or $50. That's a lot of bugs. And then I'll give Bud the balance of his money back, and we'll just we'll order a big bucket of them, and I'll split them all up. Deal? Okay. Message me. Those 1960 tables are valuable now. No, not the ones I get. They are not. These are shocking looking things. Designs. Not. You're thinking trendy 60s, I bet. I'm thinking like estate sale from the 40s, but used in the 60s. Just really big, ugly, dark things that, no, nothing appealing about them. They're not Scandinavian looking 60s. My mum and dad had some 60s furniture because it was the 60s and it was very nice. This isn't that. This is terrible. All right. A cutting mistake is terrifying coming from a surgeon. Yes, yeah, well, we tend to specify what we're cutting when we're talking about mistakes. So yeah, cutting wood in the wrong place is a little less traumatic for everybody concerned. I agree. All right, let me see. Everyone says yes to Ant Lab. The guy's brilliant. He's so nice and so quiet and so brilliant at what he does. Rick Littlefield and I had been talking about photographing tiger beetles. You know, that's a fun thing to photograph. And he'd gone out to try to chase some down with a thing he'd invented for catching them. This guy's right up my alley. And he couldn't catch them because they take off in an instant. They go from standing there to being in the air in a blink of an eye. And so Rick got in touch with Mr. Ant Lab Man and asked if he'd ever filmed one of these guys taking off. And he said he had, and it would be on an upcoming video. So I'm really excited about that one. I can't wait for that to come out. Maybe that's when we can have him on, right after that comes out. But anyway, I'll be contacting him tonight as soon as I get through with this in 6 minutes, and I'll invite him on in the new year. He may be a very informal chap and say, yeah, I'll come on tomorrow, in which case we'll do it then. But yeah, otherwise, that's what we'll do after Christmas, probably. Does everybody have plans for the holidays? I'll give you more information about whether or not I'll be around for the Christmas holiday. I'll certainly be back for New Year's. That's a week after that, isn't it? Yeah, I'll be back for that, and we'll be back on schedule, I think. I'm not a big fan of disrupting schedules, you know. I'm not. Puts me out of sorts. But yeah, there you go. Let me see. Any other comments that need to be dealt with? No, we've got just reminders that you couldn't see the picture. What picture was it I was showing you that you couldn't see? It was one of the lab ones. Yeah, I was also going to show you another wing, but I couldn't find one. A lot of these are fairly big stacks. I'll just keep looking while I'm talking. I got some very interesting views on leftover Hamuli because I was looking for some that were locked together, engaged in the wings to shoot as a unit. And I think I found one, but that won't be ready to show you tonight. So Thursday, what are we talking about? This is a test because I already told you. Oh, printers, yeah. We're going to be talking about printers and ink and where to get ink from if you are a printing type. This hamuli isn't as good as the other one. Would you like to see it anyway? We've only got a minute left, but I'm going to show it to you. So this is at an angle. I'm really shooting across the wing here. Oh, and it's not letting me advance the picture. I said Xerine was the problem earlier. I think it was Lightroom was what I meant to say. No, it's not letting me do it. In fact, it looks like it's freaking out. I think I'm just going to go back to not doing that. Yes, when you shoot them going into the distance, it takes a lot of shots to get all the way down there, because it can be a section of wing, you know, 5 millimeters long, and at 20 micron steps, that's a lot. So yeah, these will be good pictures though. One last thing. Don't go just yet, because I need to show you something. Just bear with me for one moment. You might have seen behind the rig this. Hang on. I took a picture of this to show it to you, and then I forgot to mention it. So here it comes. This is something I found at a thrift shop. Hang on, my OBS has been covered up. I found this at a thrift shop, and it is I don't know what it is. It's a plastic box with lights in it that light up, and I hang it on the wall right behind my subject, and I can put colored tissue over it and make some very nice effects. It's not a very bright light, but it could also be used for silhouettes. So it's a diffused light panel. It's called Art something or other. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. No. Oh yeah, hang on. Light table. Oh well, we knew that already, didn't we? It's called a light table, but it's just a cheap plastic thing that cost $1, but it's going to make for some interesting effects, I think. All right, guys, it's 8:58, which is near as darn it time to call it quits. I'm going to order some bugs here in the next day or two, so if you're interested in being in this consortium, get in touch with me pronto, like tonight. See that little jar of detritus? They are all Hymenoptera, and they all have hamuli on their wings. And I am going to photograph every last one of them this winter. Yeah, so I'm one-dimensional, so what? We all are. All right, guys, see you on Thursday, or if not then, I'll see you in the video, the layover video, and oh, I have one other video coming up, but the prop is, no, the prop's on the other side of the room. I am going to be doing a video on the 200mm micro Nikkor f4, the best macro lens ever made, and it's going to be on the channel. You guys take care. I need to get in touch with Mr. Antlab Man tonight, and I will speak to you all again soon. Have a good rest of the week. Good night.